You spend a third of your life with your eyes closed, unconscious, unaware of the world. Think about it. If you live for 90 years, you spend exactly 30 of those years doing nothing, motionless, in a vulnerable state in bed. From an evolutionary perspective, doesn't this look like a total disaster? For an animal living in the wild, sleep means being a sitting duck for predators. It means not finding food. It means missing out on mating opportunities. So why did we evolve to do something that seems so risky and so unproductive? And more importantly, how many hours and how many times a day should we really be sleeping? The answer to this question is much more complex and fascinating than you might think. Now think about it. Every night when you get into bed, your brain plays a little trick on you. First you get a bit groggy, then your eyes close, your muscles relax, and suddenly, darkness. You don't even remember that 6 to 8 hour block of time when you wake up in the morning. It's like you stepped into a teleportation device. But in that darkness, while you're unaware, your brain is doing something magnificent. It's rebuilding itself. Sleep isn't a luxury for lazy people. It's not a sign of weakness either. On the contrary, it is a determinant of survival, learning, and even who you are. And in the modern world, it is perhaps the biological need we neglect the most. So why do we sleep? Throughout human history, hundreds of answers have been produced for this question. In ancient Greece, sleep was thought to be a gift from the gods. In the Middle Ages, it was believed that the soul left the body at night. Even in the early 20th century, scientists thought sleep was just the brain's resting mode. But neuroscience research over the last 40 years has shown that sleep is far from a passive state. Quite the opposite. It is one of the periods when the brain is most active and consumes the most energy. Sleep researchers like Matthew Walker state this very clearly. Sleep is a critical process where the brain cleans itself, performs repairs, and organizes memory. Think of it like a Formula One race. The car performs while doing laps on the track, but if it doesn't go into the pit stop, the engine will eventually burn out, the tires will blow, and it will be eliminated from the race. Sleep is your pit stop. Now let's get to the real question. What actually happens during sleep? Sleep is not simply an off state. It is a highly organized process consisting of different phases the brain goes through. It is roughly divided into two main categories: NREM, non-rapid eye movement, and REM, rapid eye movement sleep. NREM sleep consists of 3 stages. The first stages are light sleep, a transition period basically. The third stage is deep sleep. This is where the magic begins. During deep sleep, brain waves slow down, turning into delta waves. At this stage, your body releases growth hormone, muscles are repaired, and the immune system is strengthened. But most importantly, a kind of garbage collection system in the brain kicks in. This is called the glymphatic system. While your brain's neurons work throughout the day, a lot of waste material accumulates, molecules like beta amyloid and tau proteins. But if these aren't cleaned out, they accumulate in the brain and can lead to diseases like Alzheimer's in the long run. During deep sleep, the spaces between brain cells expand, and cerebrospinal fluid sweeps these wastes away. Ideally, a nightly cleaning takes place in the brain. Someone who doesn't get a good night's sleep is like someone who never cleans their house. Over time, it fills up with trash and filth. What about REM sleep? Your eyes are closed, but they are moving rapidly underneath. Your brain waves are almost as fast as when you are awake, but your body is completely paralyzed. This is actually a very clever evolutionary design. It prevents you from physically moving and hurting yourself while running away or fighting in your dream. The biggest function of REM sleep: memory consolidation and emotional regulation. The experiences you had during the day, the information you learned, and the emotions you felt are processed during REM sleep. Your brain decides which memories to keep and which to delete. A process occurs that softens emotional traumas and strips stressful events of their emotional burden. Research shows that people who do not get enough REM sleep experience emotional regulation problems and become more depressed and anxious. These two phases repeat multiple times during a night's sleep. A cycle is completed roughly every 90 minutes. The early cycles are dominated by deep sleep, while REM sleep becomes more dominant toward the morning. That's why you can't say, that'll do after sleeping 6 hours, because you miss out on those morning REM cycles. It's like watching a concert but leaving the venue right before the finale. So far so good. But why did sleep evolve? There isn't actually a single answer to this. Sleep has multiple vital functions and likely evolved at different times for different reasons. But one theory is this: sleep evolved for the efficient use of energy. Our ancestors couldn't hunt or gather food at night. Wandering around in the dark was both dangerous and inefficient. So what were they to do? Hide and wait. But instead of just waiting idly, it made more sense to use that time for brain maintenance and repair. This might be the fundamental reason for sleep: to make times of scarcity productive. But sleep isn't just energy conservation. Sleep is the lifeblood of learning and memory. Imagine an experiment. You teach a new skill to two groups of people, say playing the piano. One group sleeps after learning, the other stays awake. When you test them the next day, the sleeping group's performance is much better. Why? Because during sleep, the brain solidifies newly learned motor skills and strengthens synaptic connections. Now let's get to the modern world's biggest problem, sleep deprivation. Before the Industrial Revolution, people generally slept when the sun went down and woke up when it rose. With the invention of the electric light, this natural rhythm began to break. Now with smartphones, computers, social media, we can scroll through Instagram even at 2 a.m. So what is the price of this? I won't go into the biology of chronic sleep disorders right now. I'll shoot a separate video on that topic later. If you don't want to miss it, please don't forget to turn on channel notifications. The effects of chronic sleep deprivation are terrifying. In people who sleep less than a week's worth of adequate sleep, obesity risk increases, ghrelin hormone increases hunger, leptin hormone decreases, immune system weakens. In one study, those who slept less than 6 hours had a weaker response to the flu vaccine. Diabetes risk increases, insulin resistance develops, depression and anxiety disorders become more common. Even cancer risk increases, especially breast and prostate cancer. There are also cognitive effects. Sleep deprivation leads to reflex impairment equivalent to driving drunk. Research shows that a person who stays awake for 17 to 19 hours performs equally to someone with a 0.05 blood alcohol level. If you haven't slept for 24 hours, you go up to the 0.1 level, which is above the legal limit in most countries. So, how many hours should we sleep a day? This is where a little personalization comes in. The National Sleep Foundation's recommendations are as follows. Adults, 18 to 64 years. But be careful, these ranges are averages. Some people genetically need less sleep, like those with the DAC2 gene mutation, but these are very rare. For most of us, sleeping less than 7 hours is the beginning of chronic debt. There is a concept called sleep debt. You might think you can make up for it the next day if you sleep little one night. But unfortunately, sleep doesn't work that way. You can't balance things out by sleeping 6 hours every night during the week and 12 hours on the weekend, because you can't fully get back the deep sleep and REM cycles you lost. Sleep debt accumulates and leads to long-term health problems. Now for the really interesting question, how many times should we sleep? In modern Western society, the monophasic sleep norm dominates, a long sleep at night, completely awake during the day. But when you look at historical and cultural records, you see that this is not a universal norm. In medieval Europe, people practiced a biphasic sleep model. They would go to bed at dusk, wake up at midnight, stay awake for 1 to 2 hours, reading, praying, chatting, even visiting neighbors, and then go back to sleep. The Industrial Revolution and artificial lighting destroyed this tradition. Today, the siesta culture still lives on in the Mediterranean, Latin America, and some Asian countries. A short nap in the afternoon. Research shows that a 20-30-minute afternoon nap increases cognitive performance, boosts creativity, and protects heart health. But beware, if you sleep longer than 30 minutes, you might fall into deep sleep and feel groggier when you wake up. This is called sleep inertia. Also, if you nap after 4 p.m., you might mess up your night sleep. So what does science say? Monophasic or biphasic? Actually, both work. The important thing is to maintain the total sleep duration and quality. For some people, an afternoon nap is energizing. For others, it disrupts night sleep. You need to listen to your own biology here. There is also the circadian rhythm. A small area in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus works like a 24-hour internal clock. This clock is set according to light, food, and social cues. When you get morning sunlight, melatonin production stops and wakefulness begins. In the evening darkness, melatonin is released and sleepiness comes. In the modern world, this rhythm is constantly interrupted. Blue light at night, phones, computer screens, irregular mealtimes, shift work. These disrupt the circadian rhythm and lower sleep quality. Now let's get to the biggest myths. Myth 1. 5-6 hours of sleep is enough. You'll get used to it. No, you won't. Your body might seem to adapt somewhat to sleep deprivation, but cognitive performance, metabolic health, and long-term risks continue to increase. Subjectively, you might feel like you've gotten used to it, but performance drops in objective tests. Myth 2. You can make up for it by sleeping on the weekend. Partly true, partly false. A gap of 1 or 2 nights can be compensated for on the weekend, but chronic sleep debt doesn't work that way. Moreover, sleeping in late on the weekend disrupts the circadian rhythm and exacerbates the Monday blues. Myth 3. You need less sleep as you get older. False. Seniors need as much sleep as adults. However, sleep architecture changes, deep sleep decreases, and frequent awakenings occur at night. This is not because the need has decreased, but because the sleep regulation mechanisms have aged. Myth 4. Sleep is just for resting. Quite the opposite. Sleep is an extremely active process. While sleeping, the brain cleans up,
consolidates memory, performs tissue repair, and regulates hormones. Myth 5. Alcohol helps you sleep. Alcohol knocks you out fast, but it ruins sleep quality. It suppresses REM sleep and causes frequent awakenings at night. You feel unrefreshed when you wake up in the morning. So, what should you do? Here are a few evidence-based suggestions. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. 65-68 FFF 60-20 drearies is ideal. Avoid blue light 1 to 2 hours before bed. Use night mode or wear glasses. Don't drink caffeine after 2 p.m. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. Avoid alcohol and heavy meals before bed. Get morning sunlight. Subquactive core mej. No, ruin sunlight. Regular exercise improves sleep quality. But if you do intense exercise 2 to 3 hours before bed, your body temperature rises, and you might have trouble falling asleep. Stress management, meditation, breathing exercises, and relaxation techniques facilitate the transition to sleep. The part of your brain called the default mode network is constantly active throughout the day. Calming it down helps you fall asleep faster. If you take an afternoon nap, keep it short. 20 to 30 minutes is ideal. If you sleep longer, waking up gets harder. In conclusion, sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Evolution didn't want you to stay vulnerable for hours every night for nothing. During this time, your brain and body are renewing, repairing, and strengthening themselves. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep a day is critical for your long-term health, performance, and even your identity. The modern world tells you, no time for sleep. Produce, work, consume. But remember, the most productive, creative, and healthy person is the one who sleeps well. No success, no project is more valuable than your health. So go to bed early tonight. Turn off your phone. Surrender to the dark. Because in that darkness, your brain is doing its most magnificent work. It's working to make you a better person tomorrow. Take your sleep seriously, because your life literally depends on it. See you in the next video. Sweet dreams.